Good noon to everyone, participants and guests. It's an honor to have you at yet another session of Vimarsha session 5th. Vimarsha is a fully student-led leadership talk series that tries to inculcate and brings values from the revered personalities from the fields of business, government, and society at large. Vimarsha is a part of Vaz Group. Vaz Group is served with three values: diligence, dharma, and discipline. It tries to serve investors and businesses with strategic growth decisions and also for financial modelings and valuation processes and methods. We are very honored and extremely grateful to have Ms. Megha Tata ma'am for our session 5th. The theme of the session is women leadership, and there are two sub themes for the session. These are: first is transforming the globe, and second is breaking the psychological barrier. Megha ma'am is the Managing Director, South Asia of Discovery Communications. She is also the President of IA India chapter. She has worked in various leadership roles in various companies like HBO, BBTI, Star, and many others. Now I'll request Dr. Dwarika Prasad Unyal, our Dean Sir, to set the perspective and introduce your speaker. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Akash, and good afternoon, everyone. It's such an honor and pleasure to host Ms. Megha Tata, who is the CEO and Managing Director of Discovery Communications. Discovery is one of those older institutions which I've always admired right from the time Kiran Karnik was the first CEO. And I incidentally ended up having a part of the panel a couple of months ago as part of some discussion somewhere. And I told him that when he came to MICA many years ago, the kind of interactions we had, and they were just launching Discovery in India in the early 2000s. And since then, it is one platform which I have huge respect for, and I follow them very beautifully every time I have something interesting to see. And as Akash has said, Vimarsha is an interesting series which is all done by students. People like me, my colleague Dr. Smita is here. We are mentors and advisor to them, and we are the guide by the side. We just let them do everything, and it's all done by them, right from the picking up the theme, picking up the speakers, engaging and interacting with the speakers, reaching out to them, having a conversations with them, and then finally hosting the show and the post-show conversations as well. The whole idea is to pick up ideas and themes which are futuristic. The whole idea is to have serious conversation flowing through this series of talks, and also to convert these discussions into theme papers, working papers over a period of time, and disseminate to the larger audience. So Vimarsha, as the word says, is all about deliberations and discussions and conversations we would like to do. So today's theme itself is important, it's timely, and we couldn't have chosen a better person than Ms. Tara to speak about it. She epitomizes the women leadership in the corporate world. She's one of those who have broken the glass ceilings, reached the top of the institutions, and also somebody who leads by example, also somebody who inspires by the work she's been doing, and also somebody who the youngsters, both men and women, would like to follow and aspire to be. So this is where I think the theme of women leadership comes in, and this is a conversation which needs to happen a lot more often, which needs to be discussed. Uncomfortable questions need to be asked in the boardrooms. We know the small percentage of people in the boardrooms of women who are there, and that has to be expanded. That has to be more inclusive discussions, and more inclusive growth has to happen across the genders. So that discussion is extremely critical. So Moksha, all yours to formally introduce Ms. Tata and flag off this whole discussions. And we are so hoping to hear her out and her thoughts. Moksha, all yours.
Thank you, sir. I think Akash has introduced ma'am wonderfully. So I think now we should just start with the session. Everyone's waiting for her to talk. So I think over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, everyone, Akash, Moksha, Dr. Dwarika, Dr. Smita, for this opportunity to talk to the students and the fraternity at large of Flame. It's my privilege and honor to be having a conversation or having a chat with all of you. I was telling Dr. Dwarika that, I love to talk to students, and I've been talking in multiple institutions, but only in this year it has been in this format, which is a little different. When you're physically there, there's a different kind of energy. When you're meeting students, you're physically seeing them, and there is this whole interaction which happens, which I absolutely enjoy, because I've always learned from all of you a lot in my career. And hopefully you learn something out of me as well. But unfortunately, that's not happening. But this is a good way to at least keep the dialogue on, and I'm really looking forward to the interaction. The way I thought I'll do this is that while the theme is women leadership, I think it's important to set the context as well, because I thought I'll share my journey with you and give you a perspective of how really I went about my career journey. What were the key areas or key pillars, so to speak, where I focused upon, and I learned a lot out of those priorities and the focuses which I worked on in my career journey. And so I'll speak a bit about that, and then hopefully have some interaction. I hope you have some questions, because I always feel that one-way street is not very engaging. So I will look forward to some interaction from all of you, or if you've already shared some questions with Akash, then we can have those addressed. So that's how I thought I'll play out. So let me start from the beginning. So my parents, I'm an Air Force officer's daughter. My father was a helicopter pilot. He was in the Air Force for many years till he retired. And being an Air Force officer kid, like any 4G child, we moved around the country every 2 to 3 years. So it's my mom, dad, myself, and my sister. And there was every 2 to 3 years we moved from one city to the other, one state to the other. I've literally lived from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. And to me, I think at the time when we were growing up, we used to keep moving schools, making new friends. And I used to, both me and my sister, we used to always like crib about it. Like, we used to tell our parents, like, you're not our real parents, you're our step parents. You're just taking away us from our friends, and you have to start all over again. And it used to be like, we used to cry like buckets when we used to leave in city and move into another one and start all over again. And I think at those times, of course, while we were really upset about that aspect, in hindsight, I think that was the best thing which happened to both my sister and me. The reason I say that is because I think that built a foundation for us to be malleable, to be flexible, to understand other different people, different cultures, and how everyone works in a different environment. And that to me was a big life lesson I learned through my childhood. And I in hindsight, everybody is a genius, but at that time, of course, we used to always crib about it. But I think that to me was one of the biggest learnings for me to create a strong foundation. So we moved around the country, I don't have one single alma mater to call, because I moved from different schools, which is great because I have friends and circles of which I've managed to keep in touch, which is a big learning. You have to keep in touch with all your old friends and not forget them. And we can and moved around the country, and eventually came into Mumbai when my father was posted here. And at that time he was flying for ONGC. He was a helicopter pilot with them. And I got into a college called NM and did my graduation out of there. Much like a lot of young students, maybe not you, because you guys are in this university, so you know what you want. But I was at a stage where I was as confused teenagers get. Like, what do I do after graduation? Like, where do I go? And I'm talking like many, many moons ago. Confusion brought me to understand follow the herd. So everybody said, my friends were doing MBA, and I said, okay, I'll also do MBA. And I didn't know what MBA even stood for at that time, to be honest. And but unfortunately, fortunately, now I say that that year, the entrance exam of the MBA exam program got postponed by 6 months. And I had the opportunity to either sit back and do nothing, or I said, okay, let me try earning some pocket money. And I was, this was, again, I need to set the context because this was way before the digital era, way before cable and satellite happened. And there was a concept of classifieds in newspapers. We used to have jobs to be seen on newspaper. And I circled out two options. One was a courier company, and one was a company which says Indian Television, which seemed interesting. But the reason I liked that was because it was closer to home. So I opted for that because I said, who will go so far away to another place? It's only for 6 months. I'll just walk into this place. Now, for a lot of you, you will not relate to this because you're living in a digital era. This is a time when there was only one television channel at that time. It was Doordarshan. Dr. Dwarka will know about it. So we used to have just one channel, DD, which was the public broadcaster. And in that time, there was a group called, the India Today group had launched a video news magazine called India News Track, wherein they used to collect the news of the week and put it in a VHS. Now that's another concept which probably you don't know. VHS was a contraption which used to capture all the content, and then you put it in a VHS player and you watch the content. So to compete with that, this company was launching a product called India View, and it was a walk-in interview where my job was to do a sell subscription for that product. So that's where I started my sales journey. And my job was literally going door to door selling, and that became my foundation of learning. So I went around literally building to building, flat to flat, going into societies where they used to say dogs and salespeople not allowed. And I used to beg the watchman, Bhaiya ji, please andar jaane dijiye, rozi roti ka sawal hai. So, and go in and try to sell a product which people had no clue of what this was all about. So the reason I gave you this background was for you to understand that no job is small, right? Every job you do is a learning. And to me, that became a foundation of my career, which I eventually made a decent graph of. But that was my best time to understand what sales is. And I realized early on in there that, I do have the gift of the gab, and I'm able to sell a comb to a bald man. So I said, okay, maybe that's really where I want to go. And I started getting, I did a great job. I became one of the star salesperson there. And I also then moved into the advertising sales of that company, wherein I had to sell ads into that VHS. So, and again, started from the scratch, didn't know A of advertising, and was open to learning. And that to me was another big learning, that again, doesn't matter if you don't know your stuff, every experience makes you learn things. And that to me was a big learning for me as well, that, okay, I can do this, and I was open to learn. Clearly from there, I moved on. By the way, the MBA never happened. I never looked back. I am just hence just a purebred graduate, and no fancy degrees in my resume, but it didn't stop me to where I wanted to go. And from there on, I moved on to a company. It was shutting down. This company was part of Sunday Mail, and this company was shutting down. And I joined Midday for a short period of time, which was which is a tabloid newspaper, as you know. While I was there for a few months, I got a call from one of my ex-bosses from Sunday Mail and Indian Television, that there is this company which is coming, and do you want to go and hear them out? So I said, what is this company? So he said, I don't know. There are these people from Hong Kong who are coming. There's some Chinese people coming from Hong Kong. They call themselves Star TV. So I said, really? What is that? What is Star TV? He says, even I don't know what Star TV is, but they say they are coming. They're starting an operation in India, and you want to go and check? I said, yeah, chalo, no harm going and checking it out. So I got in. I walked into that interview. I got the job, and I joined Star as a sales coordinator. Where my job was to make sure that there was sugar in the pantry, toilet roll in the toilets, and getting what used to be called a beta cam, which is where you put the ads in the beta cam, and I was to courier it to Hong Kong. That was my KRA. Again, highlighting this fact because to reiterate the point that no job is small, because you have to learn from the bottom of the pile to really understand and have your career growth happen. So Star happened, and I technically I became the second employee of Star in India. And I think in their records, I still am. Star, of course, created history. I was part of that entire core team. Like I said, I joined as a sales coordinator, but after 12 years, I left that company as a senior vice president. And that to me was a huge, beautiful journey, which I'm absolutely grateful for to have had the experience of. In fact, when people ask me, where have you graduated from? I always say Star TV, because that to me was my learning institution of learning. I couldn't have been what I am today without having to, without the experience of what I got in Star. So Star happened. I realized that I was reaching a bit of a glass ceiling. And then I opted for another opportunity, which I got with Turner, where I was part of a whole growth story. I was there with them for 9 years. For some of you little kids who are grown up now, you may have watched Chhota Bheem. So the Chhota Bheem was one of the launches which we did during my tenure. So yes, I'm guilty as charged. Whether if you like it, good for you. If you don't like it, too bad. Chhota Bheem happened, and that created history. And then, of course, moved on to HBO, which was another fabulous experience, a great brand to work for. Joined after that BTVI, which was a business television channel, part of Reliance Group. And then, of course, Discovery happened. So that's in a nutshell in terms of where I sort of made my career journey. But in this entire now almost 30 years of experience I have in the industry, there are a few key things I over the years have sort of identified as the key pillars for my career growth. And I call them Megha's 5 Ps. You may read, in marketing, the Philip Kotler's 4 Ps, but I have my own concoction of that. So with no disrespect to Philip Kotler, but this is something which I have learned from my life experiences, and I do believe have really held me in good stead. And I think it can hold everybody in good stead if followed in the right spirit. So the first one of my first P's is passion. And passion to me supersedes everything. Because what happens mostly in people's lives, and a lot of you are in that journey where you are getting into careers, you're going to make choices, you will need to know what you want to do. And many times people make mistakes that, okay, they start identifying the goal to hence reach that particular goal. And then I will do whatever it takes to get there. I have flipped the approach that I need to love what I do, and everything else will follow. Whether it's fame, fortune, success, everything is a byproduct of the passion you have for what you do. If you don't have passion, you are starting on a wrong footing. So my first advice would be to love what you do. Start a career journey, do something which you are getting up every day in the morning and saying, wow, I'm going to do something fabulous today. I'm going to love doing something today. Rather than getting up in the day and getting up in the morning and say, damn, I've got to go to work today. The day you start feeling that is the day you need to revisit your career choices and choices of life per se, and say, okay, maybe you want to revisit. And there is no good or bad time to do it. Your heart has to say that, and you need to listen to your heart. And I think that to me has been a big learning. I have always loved what I do. And that's why it showed in my work, because I enjoyed everything. I just happened to be getting paid for what I love to do. So, that changed the whole dynamics of my performance, and I was able to really do well. So passion is my number one priority. Second is prioritization. Again, very, very important that there is only 24 hours in the day. That's never going to change, right? But there will be a lot for you to a lot you need to do, a lot you will need to do or you want to do. But you have to be able to prioritize. You cannot manage to do anything and everything in the similar time, in that specific period of time, and do it all well. So in order to make that choice, you have to prioritize what's important for you in at that particular stage of your life. And priorities will change. When you're young, you have a different set of priorities. As you grow older, different priorities happen. So there is no playbook wherein you can say, okay, this is the rules of the game. You have to make your own rules. And that prioritizations are sometimes very tough to take. Some very tough decisions have to be taken. I have, and especially for women who are going to be starting your careers and your lives, and marriage happens, kids happen. That's where the confusion starts happening in lots of women's mind, that, okay, now I have to start taking care of my child, I have to take care of my home. I think prioritization plays a big role in there. So to give you an example, I have had times when my children were growing up that I had to let go of a very important meeting to go for, okay, which was very critical from a work point of view. But it was more important for my daughter to see me in the sports day when she had a sports function. She wanted to see me in the crowd. And to me, that was more important than that business meeting. It was priority for me, and I chose that. But at the same time, I have let go of being part of an annual day function of my daughter because a certain meeting was important. So how do you balance this is very important. And my priorities and your priorities will be different. My priorities this year versus 10 years ago were very different. So if the prioritization circle changes, and you need to decide what's priority for you at that stage. So that's, to me, another very critical aspect for you to keep in mind, that you have to prioritize. Some people call it compromise, but I call it prioritizing. So that's another P which I really believe in. The third aspect is perception. And that is something more and more when you grow into the career, in your jobs and the work environment you lead in, you have to lead by example. If you have to be perceived in a particular way, then you have to walk the talk. You cannot speak one language and do another language. So you have to create that strong sense of belief that, okay, if I want to be perceived in a particular way, then you have to be in that particular way. You want people to perceive you in a particular way, then you have to speak that language. So that, to me, again, will become a very important aspect as you grow in your career, about how you want to be perceived. If it doesn't matter to you, then it's fine. But to me, it did. And hence, it was important that I created that persona of what I want to be seen in and how I want to be seen in. And then I needed to work towards that, and which is what I did. So that's number 3. Number 4, I call it PR, but it's more PR in its true sense is public relation. But to me, what I'm trying to say is networking. Another very critical aspect which you cannot ignore. And networking is not just going drinking and smoking and going out partying. That's not networking. Networking to me was being in groups of people from where you can lean in and learn from. So it's being part of organizations, part of groups where like-minded people are able to engage with each other and understand from each other and learn from each other. And that in that, I'm a big believer of one saying, baat karne se baat banti hai. So aap baat karoge to baat banegi. And when conversations happen, things happen. And sometimes I've got jobs out of the networking. Sometimes I've got deals out of networking. Sometimes I've got advice out of networking. And that, to me, is a very integral part of our learning process. You have a long way ahead in your careers, and you should not ignore this aspect that, I know it all. Never have that attitude. Even today, I'm a student of life, and every day is a learning. And I think there's a huge learning you get out of when you're part of certain groups, and you decide, if you're a marketing person, you be part of certain marketing groups, finance, HR, or any other form of career you want to choose. You be in an environment where you can lean and learn from. So that's the fourth P. And the last, but definitely not the least, is positive attitude. To me, that is actually the top one, because in glass has to always be half full. Because the fact is that you are not able to control the world. That's not a possibility. Okay. You cannot fix the world, but the only person you can fix is yourself. At least that's in your control, right? So at least bring that positive attitude into the mix, right? Because problems will be part of your life. That is life. There is no walk in the park. Let me just break that dream for you. There is no walk in the park. It's hard work. It's a lot of dedication. It's resilience. But all of those can be overcome if you have a positive attitude. And if you have a positive attitude, I think you're able to overcome so much. It's not even funny. It seems like very cliched, but it is something which I have learned from my own multiple examples. I have had situations where I've had to not let go, but being demoted in a certain career journey of mine because I had a baby. Yeah. And that to me was like a big blow, which I got. I was told that now you have a child. Of course, it was men who said that you may want to spend more time with your child. Hence, we will take away your responsibility and give you a much smaller responsibility. It hurt a lot. I was devastated. I cried a lot, and it's okay to cry. Again, something which is not a sign of weakness to me. I think it's a human need for people to cry. And I did cry a lot. But the only way I overcame that sort of a big dent in my career was positive attitude. And I said, like, damn it. Okay, maybe there is something, maybe it is better that this worked out because I was able to spend more time with my child. But at the same time, I took that in my own stride and sort of worked my career out. And today, I don't know where those men are, frankly, in the world of, in the corporate world, but here I am talking to you, right? So that's the attitude which got me. Like, you have to bring in a sense of optimism in any set of challenges you are faced in your life. So these would be my key 5 P's, which I wanted to sort of highlight to you. And I think one of the other things which probably I'll sort of end with and get into then the interaction bit is that, and specifically with reference to women leadership, because that's the theme of the topic today. I am a small town girl who made it in the big bad world. And if I can do it, anybody can. I am not a fancy degree person. I'm just a simple graduate. I came from a small town. Like I said, I was born in a place called Ludhiana. My mother is from Jammu, from Srinagar. Actually, she's a Kashmiri, and my dad's from Punjab. We lived all across the country, but in small towns, very basic upbringing, no fancy stuff in my journey. It was tough times. We were middle class family, but the reason I reached this was some of these 5 key aspects which I applied in my life. And I think it's very important for each one of you. It doesn't matter which walks of life you come from, which city, state, gender, sexual orientation you come from. The fact is that you need to be believing in yourself. Half the battle is won if you believe the fact that you're good in what you do. The moment the self-doubt comes in is where the problem starts. So it doesn't matter. I don't know everything. I still don't know everything. Let me tell you something. I don't know how. I am not good in finance. I'm not. Okay. So that doesn't stop me to know enough to ask the right questions. So that is that is the bare minimum you should know. Okay, if I need to understand a PNL, right? I understand the basics of it to be able to ask the right questions. But I have my CFO who is an expert in that, and that's how the whole dynamics of the corporate world works. You cannot know everything. You should, in fact, it's not humanly possible to know everything. In fact, those people who claim who know everything are fooling you left, right, and center. Okay, so it's okay to not be okay. All right, and in that you find the learnings, and making mistakes and failure is another very important learning for each one of us. I've had multiple failures in my career, multiple. Okay, where I have taken wrong decisions, business decisions, career decisions, certain life decisions. But the trick about failure is that you have to learn from them and not repeat them. That's the thing. Failing is important, because if you fail, you value success that much more. So I have failed many a time. Now you see this whole persona that I'm speaking to you and it's all good. I'm the managing director, da 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 da. But I've had a lot of shit to deal with as well, right? And it's a fact. All of you have. I'm sure you have much younger life than mine, but even in this life, you must have had challenges to deal with. That's fine. How you deal with those challenges, how you overcome, is more important than the failure itself. So it's really important, specifically for women, that don't give up. Don't just be strong. I was just part of one session where some horrendous statistics were being given about the gender disparity in corporates in India, and how so many, and especially with the media industry I represent, is that there are a lot of women in the media industry, but somewhere down the line, or should I say up the line, they dissipate. Okay, there are very limited CXO position women in our industry. And I don't have an exact answer. I have multiple theories to it. But one of the things is that many times women themselves give up. They themselves are their worst enemies. And that, to me, is a solve which only women can fix. You have to believe in yourself. You can do everything. Why should it be an either or world? It is an and world. I am an and person. I have a very successful career. I have a fabulous family. I have two beautiful daughters who turned out to be absolutely wonderful children. And I have a wonderful husband, a mother-in-law, my parents. How did I balance it? I didn't have any magic. It's just that I believed in myself. I know that I was able to do it. Fine, I'll make mistakes, I'll fall, I'll get hurt, but I have to brush my clothes off and start walking again. That's the attitude needed. So I think it's really important that each one of you, and this is gender agnostic advice, men and women, you have to be strong and believe in yourself, because there is no shortcut to success for sure. But at the same time, never self-doubt, because that, to me, is one of the biggest sort of negative aspect in any individual's life, because it just pulls you down completely and pulls your people who are around you. So on that, I can keep going on and on. As you can see, I have this thing of talking and talking. So I'll pause now and maybe look for some questions before I go forward.
Yes, ma'am. What an amazing insights you've given, ma'am. 5 P's I remember from your first talk: passion, priority, PR, positive thoughts, and perception. So I'll try to follow this in my life. And to all the general audience, please put in your questions in the Q&A box. We are having an interaction session with ma'am. So I'll let Moksha join in now. Please, Moksha, take the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Akash. Thank you, ma'am. This was extremely insightful. And, like you said, because we're now growing up and, I've started my job, I could relate with everything that you said. And it's just been so helpful. I was having a conversation with Akash and I was telling him, we have to ask ma'am about the 5 P's. And then you answered it for us. So I think that was brilliant.
Great.
So I think now we'll go and take some questions. We have Karan, who has asked a very nice question. Your words of wisdom remind me of a quote: "You don't choose the field chooses you." I have realized my field is B2B sales, advertising, and marketing. But my question is, what industry do I aim for?
So Karan, I don't know what's your, where's your passion, which lies? Where is your core passion where you are most happy in? B2B can be in any industry. It could be in media, it could be in pharmacy, it could be in finance, it could be in any field. So I think that core, first, that question only you can answer. Where do you really see yourself bloom? But so hence, depending on that is where you can sort of decide where you want to choose your career options. So I wish I could give you an answer which gives you that, okay, this is what you should do, but this is an answer you need to give yourself, because you know where's the passion in you lies. But opportunities, as a generically speaking, lies across different industries. Even in the media industry, which I can't speak for other industries, but in media, of course, there are B2B options. And a lot of organizations, even in media, are dealing with a lot of B2B clients. Now, for example, when Discovery launched an OTT platform called Discovery Plus, which is is a hugely successful proposition. While it's a D2C product, which is direct to consumer, I'm sorry. There are a lot of B2B partnerships we do, whether it's partnering with, say, Tata Sky or with Jio, so those are the B2B integrations we do that. So there are opportunities in B2B across, but you need to really figure out where your core passion lies.
That's great. Okay, we'll take another one. So this is an anonymous attendee, and they've written, how do you deal with people who don't want to complete their task you assign to them? In so many organizations, men don't like to be led by women leaders. So how do you deal with such situations?
I wonder when this is from a woman or a man.
Yeah, wondering the same.
Yeah, so I think I'll give you my experience. Okay, I've had women bosses, I've had male bosses, I've been a woman boss to men and women. When I had a boss who was a woman, I think there were areas which I think we could connect with on multiple levels. I think being on the same gender, maybe, I don't know. But there were also a sense of competitiveness, that also happens. And so that's one scenario. I've had wonderful men bosses. I've had horrible men bosses. So, it takes all kinds to make this world. And it's not like women are always great bosses. You've got some terrible women bosses also. Okay. But speaking as person, like a boss who has men and women, I think one of the things if somebody is unable to do what I have asked them to do, I need to level with them. I need to understand what is really going wrong in why it's not being delivered. Is it that they don't get it? Is it they are less resourced? Is it they are less? So you need to go to the core of the problem. Okay, being very reactive is very easy. Okay, but I think just reaction does not solve a problem. But going to the core of the problem and understanding what the issue is, and then maybe collectively forming a solution is probably a smarter way to do it. Because it's not that maybe I may not have a solution, but if you have a conversation, then you understand where the problems are and maybe find relatively a solution which brings people together to make the solution come into fruition. So understanding the core of the problem is very important, and that can happen only in a conversation and to engage with them. A lot of people just react. Oh, you didn't do it. Why didn't you do it? I needed it by this. Rah, rah, rah. But maybe if somebody is not able to deliver consistently, then you need to understand maybe you have either the wrong person on that job, or you're not equipping the person with the right resources, or you are expecting a bit too much from the person. Because it's very practical to bring a solution if you get into an engagement. So I think understanding the core of the problem is more important than just having a reaction of like, why didn't you do the job which was given to you? So I don't know if I've answered that question.
No, I'm sure, ma'am, you have. We have another one from Sneha. And she said, how do you deal with the stress of what to do in the future as a graduate?
So, I think stress is an overrated term, according to me. Stress comes if you are creating a situation in your mind, your own experience is creating that stress. So if you believe that, that there is and it goes back to one of my 5 P's, is bringing that positive attitude. Like there has to be a solution to everything. And what stress does is only makes you ill, nothing else. It doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't address any of the issues you may be facing with the others. It only messes up your health, your mind, your body, right? So why stress? Like, what is there to stress? It's just like, you just have to be that, like, okay, fine, let me sit back and figure a solution to it, and maybe have a conversation with certain like-minded people. It's like, where is the solve? I've had multiple situations in my life where I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, like I told you, like, if you're struggling, where do I start? I didn't know where to start. I didn't have it all thought through that I want to be a big executive in the media and entertainment world. No, not at all. I was so confused. I didn't know where to start. Like I said, I didn't even know what MBA stood for. But I let life happen to me. I let it play along. I opened my mind. I was open and absorbed what I was learning. And I tried certain things which I did not like. And I said, that's not me. I'll try something else. That's fine. Let me give you that. You can argue, okay, that was 30 years ago, times were different. Okay, let me talk about my daughters. Okay, I have 2 daughters, almost your ages. One is 22, one is 18. Now, 22-year-old has just graduated, confused what to do. And it's fine. She's getting an opportunity to work somewhere, and she's getting an internship job, okay, which is pretty much paying her pittance. But my advice to her is that it's fine. It's the experience you need to add. You are young. You have age to your advantage. Experience is more rewarding right now than the pay packet. Pay packet will happen if you become great and in your job, in your core expertise which you want to build in. It's fine. Start somewhere. You have to start learning. Learning is the best I would say stress buster, if you want to call it, and that's how it should be. My younger daughter, she's a graduate. She had to go to the US to study into an undergraduate. This year happened, and we said, it's okay, take a gap year. 1 year, no studies, chill, enjoy your life. What is 1 year in the larger scheme of things? She couldn't believe it. Mama, are you sure? Like, I don't have to study for 1 year. I say, yeah, chalo na, doesn't matter. What is 1 year in the larger scheme of things? But and in that, she's learned so many other skills. She wants to be in the creative field, and she's learning different skills, and she's doing things. She's earning some money also. That's learning, right? You're adding to your skills. So don't get stressed about things which are so small, in my view. We have larger issues people are dealing with, and I think if you bring that positive attitude to yourself, you will not have any stress.
So true. Now we have a few more questions. So this one is from Chitti. Ma'am, how to handle the situation when we are dictated decisions by our superiors which we don't want to take and we fail?
Is superior work world or parents?
Yeah, probably you can put it in the chat again.
So I think if superior, I'm assuming is in the work world. Work. Okay. So if someone is giving you something, and sorry, the question is that someone has told you to do something you don't agree with.
Correct. You don't want to take it, or the decisions, and then you fail. So your superior is telling you something.
I think, see, if you're building, I'm just trying to put myself in that situation, right? There are many times I have had to do things I don't agree with the person, okay? But I have to respect my boss, my respect the company, respect who's giving me the salary, right? I have to respect it. And this is a situation, it happens even now. I don't necessarily agree with some of the things which my boss is telling me to do. Yeah. But I'm part of a larger ecosystem. You know, I'm not an entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're your own business, you have the decision to do what you have to do. But if I'm working for a corporate setup, I have to respect the company and its beliefs. You should learn from that, okay? But if it reaches a point where it's a complete disconnect, then that's not the right job for you or right company for you. And that's a tough decision you'll have to take. But if it is something you are able to, if it's something which is not killing you and it's not like, fine, I'll do it. It's not something I completely believe in, but I will do it. But when you do it, then give it your 100%. Then don't do a half-baked attitude, because that will not benefit either you or the company. So even if you're not a complete believer of what is being asked from you, but you have to do it because you are working in an organization, you need, maybe that's one aspect you don't like, but other things you like, just, deliver it. Do your best what you can and keep going on.
Sure. All right. So we have another one from Karan. And he's asking, like, you have 5 Ps. Is there a process or pointers you have for learning new things when stuck in a challenge at your workplace?
In my case, Karan, I learn from young people. I've always believed in hiring people who are smarter than me, because that's the only way I will learn. Okay. I come from a generation which from a linear world, which has moved into the digital world. Okay. I am hiring people and learning from people who are born in the digital world, like yourselves, right? Our dynamics are very different. Like I see it with my daughters, what takes me like 10 minutes to figure on how to put an Insta post, my daughter will do it in like 1 minute. So it's just the way it is. Yeah. There's not, and I'm not apologetic about it, but I'm open to learning about it. So the way to learn is to learn from people who are better than you. And that's a mantra which I have followed myself, and it has worked for me. Sometimes I get it right. Sometimes I'm a bad student. I still don't get it, but that's the process. That's fine. So I would suggest that if you want to learn from people who are better than you.
Absolutely. So we'll take 2 more questions and then I think we're done. The second last question is, everyone says that you should take up all the opportunities that are provided to you, but do you think that might not give our full potential to all of them? Basically having too much on your plate, I think, is what they're trying to say.
As in work opportunities?
Yes.
No, I think you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice of what of those opportunities. I mean, where's your passion? Again, going back to passion, where are you going to enjoy your being most? It's very important. In fact, I would say, I would go as another step. If you have 2 options, one which is what you love but doesn't pay you as much, but the other pays you more but is something you're not compromising, I would go for something what you would love, because eventually the money will happen, because you will be able to be a better and bigger success in a company, in an environment where you are enjoying the work, and success will follow. That's 100% guarantee. That I've seen not only with myself, with so many people I know. People who love what they do, they are definitely successful. People who are not successful, I would say 8 out of 10 times is because they have been stuck in the wrong job, because they didn't like what they want. They are doing it because of other issues, peer pressures, parental pressure, whatever else, financial pressures. And that's a short-term way to look at things. If you want a long-term success of life, you have to have a little more patience in achieving what you want to achieve.
Correct, correct. So I think the last question, and I think that's the best question we can conclude with. So, what are the skills that you think the graduates should focus on to become, someone successful in marketing or content-related industry? That is one, and there's another part to this. And on leadership note, what are the three pieces of advice you would like to give students and the youth of India?
On skills, I think, we are living in such a digital world. Things are changing every day. So whatever skills you learn today are obsolete tomorrow, literally. So that's the dynamism of the world we are living in. And this is going to get even more dynamic as we go along, right? So I think you should just identify like what is the core skill you need for the moment, and never then stop honing those skills or adding more skills to your portfolio. It doesn't have to stop at one. Like if you're a marketer, and suppose you're a brand marketer, but if you know about digital marketing, that's a great skill to have, right? But if you're a digital marketer and you if you can know about brand marketing, is a great skill to have, because that makes you a full wholly rounded marketer, right? So but in then digital marketing, then do you want to specify even further, go into performance marketing? So that's another skill to be added. So it all depends on where you see yourself, sort of, what's the path you're seeing yourself walk on. So you have to keep adding skills, and it's not ending. You guys are still young, and between now and by the time you're my age, lots is going to happen. It's going to be changing even more. So you have to continue to keep evolving. You cannot stop. You have to keep. That's the world you have been born into. So you have to keep working on adding more skills onto you. But I would also say that and that maybe it worked for me, and I would imagine should work for everybody else also, is that you may be a jack of all, but be a master of one. Don't try to be a master of all, because that's technically, unless you're one big genius, then hats off to you. But it's humanly quite challenging to make that happen. And also, just don't be jack of all and master of none, because that doesn't help either. So create one skill which is something you are like ace at, and then have little bit of knowledge about a few other skills.
Thanks, ma'am. That was wonderful. Yes, please go on.
No, I thought there was another question.
Yeah, so there's just the same question has another question where, for when it comes to leadership, three pieces of advice that you would like to give students or the youth of India for leadership.
First, I think my 5 P's take care of all of that by and large. So I think I wouldn't sort of go deeper onto that anyways. And I just want to just tell the students, you guys are blessed to be in an environment, in a world which is so connected, right? But in that, there are a couple of things which I would advise is, don't lose the human connect, okay? We are digitally connected, but don't lose the human connect. At the end of the day, we are humans are social animals, right? Already trying to be socially distant is challenging, and you know how tough it's been for all of us. So don't lose the human connect. And second most important advice, which I learned much later in life, and unfortunately I didn't have this advice earlier, is bring a balance in your life through some form of spirituality. We are very commercial minded people, most of us are, right? But if you don't balance that with some form of spiritual leaning, and it could be anything, it could be it's not necessarily if you need to follow a guru, or your parents can be a guru, your teacher can be a guru, but bring a balance on your life. Don't be one track mind of like, I need to be a commercially driven person. The moment you bring a balance of spirituality, trust me, you will have an even more successful life. I have seen my own experience in the last 7 years, I started following a spiritual path with Sadhguru, who's my guru, and I've been following him for now many years, and I've got involved deeper with the foundation, Isha Foundation, in terms of volunteering and so on and so forth. And I can tell you that from the time I started doing the practices which he has given, the same 24 hours have not changed. Like I said, they will never change, but I'm able to do 5 times more work in the same 24 hours and effortlessly. I never get into a situation like, oh my God, I have to do this, I have to do that. Kya wo bhi karna, ye bhi karna hai. Nothing. That whole thing is such a flow. Life flows like a river. And that is only possible if you bring your semblance in your mind, body, and soul. Like that aligning of the chakras, as they say, right, is extremely important. And I used to think the same thing. Like, when I was much older then, you're much younger still. But I used to think, yeah, this is for my parents. When I retire, I will do this. Okay. Yeah, this is my grandparents ke liye hai, this is puja part. This has nothing to do with puja part. This is about you. This is fixing yourself. This is important for you at this age. Only if you bring this balance in this age, you will see the benefit 20 years later. And you have to trust me on this. I have no other way to prove it, because 20 years later, if we meet, we can talk again. And it is a huge advice I would give you. Bring in a sense of some form of alternative, whether it's meditation, yoga, anything, but bring that in. I have my daughters who follow this at this age, and they're your age, and one is younger than you as well. And it's wonderful to see them bloom in that space. So it is possible to do for young generation too. And so that would be my big advice to all the young kids of the country.
Wow, thanks, ma'am. This has been so enriching. The session, the questions, the answers. I mean, I personally can relate with everything, and I'm sure our audience too can. And it's been wonderful. Now I'm going to give the stage to Dr. Smita. Ma'am, please take it ahead. And thanks a lot, ma'am. We are so grateful you took the session today. Thank you.
I'm so glad. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Moksha.
Ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Tata, for a very engaging and enriching session. We are very grateful to you for sharing your own experiences, sharing your own perspective based on what you have seen in life in the last few years. And based on your 5 Ps and based on your answers to all the questions from the students, I'm sure we all have learned a lot about, how people should love their job, overcome barriers, create an impact, and build a long-term successful career. So on behalf of Flame University, I would like to thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule for this webinar. And thanks to Vimarsh team for organizing this session on a very important topic.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thank you, everybody. It was wonderful.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
All right.
Thank
And all
you,
the
ma'am.
Stay safe. Yeah.
All the best. Be positive, not corona positive. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Tata. It was an amazing, insightful session. And purely dil se, I was texting Isaac that we had a great time listening to you, and purely somebody who's been such an inspiration. And also, I think your 4 Ps and others are amazing. Just parting lines for you, dedicated to the kind of things you have done in your life, and a lot of other kids as well, which your lives exemplify. I'm a poet, so 2 lines for you, Ms. Tata.
Thank you.
सपनों को उड़ने के लिए हवाई जहाज का टिकट नहीं लगता. सपनों को उड़ने के लिए हवाई जहाज का टिकट नहीं लगता. बस पलकों को उम्मीदों के पंख चाहिए. So I think you have that ummidon ke panch to everybody else.
Thank you. Wonderful. That's beautiful. Thank you
Lovely.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, ma'am.